quickly wrap this up. The Standard. Okay, this one we'll have to discuss, but I'll put a pin in it so when we come back to it on the other side of the break. Troubled Kingdom. King Charles III flies into the country tomorrow and is expected to attend several functions in his 4-day visit. However, the challenges in Commonwealth and need for a charm offensive to bring the union together are at the heart of the visit. So, a couple of highlights here. Locals eager to learn what King has in store for them. Should they expect much? Will the monarch apologize for colonial atrocities? And will there be reparations for sins committed in the name of British monarch? Wasn't there a payout some time back for Mau Mau?
For some, I suppose there's a group that had sued the British government in UK courts. I think they got some. This is a group that I think was assisted by the Kenya Human Rights Commission. Yeah.
And the Kenya Human Rights Commission called for an apology yesterday. We'll get into that.
But that was a specific case. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What tax revenue says about the economic plan analysis? Prof, are you quoted in this one?
This one over which one?
What tax revenue says about the economic plan?
No, I think it's somebody else.
Okay, I'll flip through. Chir Keegan star in Standard Chartered. Did you guys run Standard Chartered Marathon or walk?
Next year.
Next year. You're smiling, Prof. Akech. Did you?
I wish I could. I play football. I don't run. I mean, okay. I don't do marathons, but I play football.
I probably, if I'd got to do the 5-kilometer run, walk in my case. I only ran from poverty.
I'm sure you know my game.
Yes, rugby.
No.
Which one? Football.
I'm sure you are. I'm very surprised you don't know my game.
Which one, Prof?
It's better than rugby. It's better than football. Golf.
My apologies. The Star front page. Let's see, inside efforts to reconcile Uhuru and Gachagua. Gachagua fell out in the run-up to the 2022 polls. The DP has been traversing different parts of Mount Kenya, calling for unity. And then I see an image here. Ruto attends the 40th anniversary of Eldoret Anglican Diocese. All smiles, and there is a cake. Here we go. It's all systems go as last cohort starts KCPE exams. And the love triangle link in matter of city taxi driver. Anything I've missed out? I do not think so. So finally, oh yes, intense lobbying ahead of Mwangaza impeachment date with senators. On the front page of the People Daily, 5 die 1 day to sitting KCPE exam. Tragedy mars exams. Pupils from Arab Moi Primary School had gone for a school trip when they drowned in a dam. Education CS calls for calm as probe launched. Interior CS accuses teachers who planned the trip and boat operators of criminal negligence. At a glance, let's see, 1.4... Okay, I think that's about as close as I can get. Oh, there we go. At a glance, 1.4 million candidates will be sitting the KCPE exam starting today. There will be the last group to sit the test, first introduced with the advent of 844 in 1985. 1.2 million pupils will also be assessed for the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, which was introduced during tenure of now retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, and 60,000 security officers have been deployed to provide security during the exams, according to Interior Permanent Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo. And at the very top here, writes Group 1's visiting King Charles to say sorry for atrocities. British King and Queen are set to arrive in the country tomorrow, the first visit to a Commonwealth country since coronation, as human rights groups demand an apology for colonial-era rights abuses. So we get into all of this and more on the other side of the break. Do not forget, our agenda this morning is this: breaking down the barriers fostering intra-African trade. where are we as far as the 2063 agenda is concerned? I'll open up the document here. And also following President William Ruto's pronouncement that by December the 31st, and this is something that was started by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, opening up the country to other Africans. So all Africans should be able to access Kenya without requiring a visa from December the December the 31st, according to the president. What impact will that have? Positive move forward, I'm sure okay, I'm guessing is what you have to say. I know Professor Exan Iraki says it's a bit more complicated than that. And actually, the Kusi Ideas Festival that's coming up, which will be held in Botswana early December, we'll look into some of that. And we will look into more of that on the other side of this break.
Introducing the East African Entrepreneurship Conference and Expo, hosted in the heart of the Democratic Republic of Congo from October 31st to November 2nd, 2023. Proudly presented by Nation Media Group. Unleash the potential of East African entrepreneurship as you connect with visionary minds, explore untapped markets, and forge lucrative trade partnerships. Whether you're poised to conquer the vibrant business landscape of the DRC or eager to expand your footprint across East Africa, this event is your gateway to success. For comprehensive details and registration, call Joanne on 0724 661 440 or email jmasika@ke.nationmedia.com.
We'll be having that conversation with experts on just what is the role of science, technology and innovation in improving agriculture and food security.
We know what we have. We know what we lack. We should streamline our research activity towards what we lack so that to get what we want.
We definitely could have done far, far better than where we are in terms of agricultural performance, in terms of the value of agriculture, and even sometimes our mindset and understanding of why agriculture, what is agriculture.
The key drivers of transformation are two things: technological interventions that will be groundbreaking, that will transform agriculture from the way we are doing it.
Mortein Doom, with its trusted formulation, it provides protection in seconds. So spread the Mortein Doom message of how we, you and I, can fight to end malaria. Mortein Doom, Kenya's #1 choice.
On this edition of EdTech Mondays Kenya, we are taking a closer look at what it truly takes to create digital tools that not only enhance but also empower and elevate the teaching experience.
What are you seeing as some of the key drivers to make sure that these tools actually meet the needs of the teachers?
One of the most important things that the digital tool should have is relevant content.
For me, the most important thing is that the teacher capacity is built very well to fit with the 4th industrial revolution.
At what point do you bring the teacher in? The teacher needs to be there from the beginning.
Join us as we explore this insightful conversation on Monday, 30th October 2023 at 6 p.m. East African Time on NTV and thereafter on the Mastercard Foundation's YouTube channel.
To get Inuka Mteule by Florence Mureithi, dial *812*798#.
Skiza na Nation.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started.
Plans are in full gear for the country to host the British royal family. The outward view of the country portrays a country of order and dignity, ready for our royal visitors.
Executive Director Davis.
However, the Kenya Human Rights Commission says not so fast. They want King Charles to issue a public apology over what the lobbyists term systematic atrocities, historic land injustices, and corporate-related violations involving the British government and British corporations.
We call upon the King on behalf of the British government and people to issue an unconditional and unequivocal public apology as opposed to the very cautious, self-preserving and protective statement of regrets for the brutal and inhuman treatments inflicted on the Kenyan citizen during the entire colonial period from 1895 to 1963 and thereafter to date.
The activists picking out excerpts of the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission report. The report recommended that the British government, the Kenyan President and Chief Justice offer public and unconditional apologies to the people of Kenya over the colonial and post-independence injustices, pointing out that President Uhuru Kenyatta made his apology during his annual State of the Nation speech on March 26, 2015, before a joint sitting of the National Assembly and Senate. King Charles III is facing calls to address the legacy of the British colonial rule, as well as complaints that foreigners still own large swaths of rich farmland in Kenya and that the United Kingdom has failed to accept responsibility for the crimes of British soldiers stationed in Kenya. A matter that has been a thorn in the flesh of many Kenyans and has also created political fodder in the past.
Africans were confined to unproductive and overcrowded native reserves. In some cases, British signed the so-called agreements with illiterate community leaders, leading to dispossession of their land. For instance, the Maasai community signed the Anglo-Maasai agreement that saw massive loss of their grazing land to white settlers. Unfortunately, some of the parcels of lands are still owned by British investors, as Lord Delamere, David Craig, and other corporations such as Kakuzi, Unilever Tea Kenya, James Finlay Kenya, and George Williamson.
This comes at a time when the United Kingdom and the royal family are under pressure to re-examine colonial history and apologize for its role in the transatlantic slave trade. During their visit, the King and Queen will meet President William Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto, as well as other members of government, UN staff, CEOs, faith leaders, youth, and Kenyan Marines training with UK Royal Marines. The King will also attend an event to celebrate the life and work of Nobel laureate, the late Professor Wangari Maathai, together with Wangare's daughter, Wajera Martha. Brian Mushiri, NTV, Nairobi.
All right. Is an apology in order, or are we past that this is what was on the weekly review yesterday. An image of King Charles. Underneath the dark past, it won't be business as usual when King Charles III lands on Tuesday to begin his first visit to a Commonwealth nation as monarch. Kenyans will demand an unconditional public apology and official acknowledgement of wrongs over and above, quote, inadequate expressions of regret previously offered by the British government. Will he do it? Professor Migaya Ketch.
Will he do it? I doubt he will. Because if he does, he'll open a Pandora's box. The British are called in some quarters the perfidious Albions.
Okay.
You know what perfidy means?
Yes.
Somebody who's very deceptive. They'll tell you one thing and do another.
And Albions?
I think Albion is a term for the English.
Okay.
It distinguishes them from the Irish, the Scots, etc.
So
and it's
in full perfidious? Albions.
They're called the perfidious Albions because
I've learned something new. Thank you.
They've wreaked a lot of havoc throughout the world. Everywhere there's a crisis on this earth, there's usually the British at the beginning of it, including what is happening now in Palestine. The Palestinian conflict is because of the British. Many of the conflicts in Asia, it's because of the British. Many of the conflicts in Africa and their colonies, it's because of the British. So if you were to say, well, please apologize, and where do you stop? And then it will not stop with the apology. People will be demanding reparations. Because in addition to the human rights violations, they also stole from us.
Okay.
And they continue to own a lot of property in their former colonies. Should they be having that property? And even in terms of our system of government, this very corrupt system of government that we inherited is from the British because, and this is something I've studied, so ostensibly they told us they're going to give us a very good formal rule-based system of law, but how they governed was extremely informally. And this is why you have, to give you an example, so the British told you that, you know, you need formal systems, you need, if you want to give licenses for particular activities, then you must set up a committee to give you those licenses. But in practice, how was it done? In practice, if you wanted a license, then you needed to know which club the chair of the corrupt, the coffee export committee went to. And typically this man went to the Muthaiga club. So if you wanted a license, you sought the chair of that committee at the Muthaiga club. He facilitated things, and then everything at the board would be routine. Has anything changed?
No.
Isn't that how we do things? Exactly.
But
isn't that the source of much of the corruption that continues in this country?
Isn't that just called networking? Isn't it a good thing?
Is it?
Professor Exen Iraki, you actually wrote a piece on this visit. It was published in the Standard yesterday, and I'll pull it up. But give us the gist of your thoughts on this visit.
This is a very emotional issue to me for a number of reasons. One of them is I know 3 of my relatives, specifically uncles, who fought for the British in World War II. But they never got any pension. They never got any reward for that. The soldiers who fought for the empire from UK themselves got the big pieces of land we are talking about. 2 people putting their life on duty to risk. One is rewarded, the other is not rewarded. And when Mau Mau came, I also know a number who got detained. They fought for the empire, but they also got detained. So you can see the contradiction. So I think on a pure humanitarian point of view, there's a need for apology. We're not talking about the people who lost their land, who are displaced, and their only offense was they happened to have been in Kenya when Britons came to take over this country. The problem with apology is that, as my colleague says, it opens a can of worms. Britons owned so much land, colonized so much part of this planet. So if they apologize in Kenya, they have to apologize from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they say there was a time when the sun never set over the empire. So undoing all that would be very complicated. And I think that's why the Britons are very careful in terms of apologizing. But that would be in order. But you also must consider the other issue that is at stake, which is land, very emotional. Somebody was saying a few minutes ago that the Britons transferred land from certain community to the Britons. Then when independence came, that land never got back to the original owners. So if we now take that line, it will be very complicated. But I think we cannot keep on going back in history. And one of my interesting observations I made about his visit, that he's coming to visit Kenya as a king. Yet the Britons destroyed our kingdoms. So you can see they destroyed our kingdom, but they kept theirs. So maybe by inviting him and welcoming him, we are saying indirectly that we don't mind reviving our, and maybe we should revive them so that you never know, I might become Prince Iraqi.
Reviving our kingdoms,
yes.
Prof, surely.
Or I can become the Duke of Nairobi.
Uh-huh.
But I think, all in all, an apology would be in order. We are also very forgiving as Africans.
Too forgiving, some would say.
Sometimes. But I think I would be very glad to see Prince Charles apologizing to the Kenyan public, the victims of all those atrocities. Because they are documented, we know them. It's not something we are going to talk about, something we know very well. Now, I also need to correct something my colleague said. Mau reparations. Only 5,000 people are paid. But how many people suffered under the British rule during the Mau emergency? Very many people, thousands. But only 5 were.
He did say a small group.
Very small group. And I can tell you for free from my own research, there were a lot of joyriders. A lot of joyriders were compensated. Not the real Mau. So we also need more people to be compensated if there are reparations or if there is compensation. And I hope that will be one of the subjects he's going to address when he comes here.
All right. He did say that, okay, I don't know about the reparations, but he did say, sorry, the statement that was released by the royal, it's not the entire family, I suppose, but their communications team, was that, you know, he would, they're willing to look at, it's a complicated history, so even the ugly, and there was talk of acknowledging, as you heard in that report by Brian Mushiri Wangari Maathai, but also visiting, they're to visit a memorial, I believe,
what they said is that
with regard to the state of emergency.
They're going to apologize for some of the more serious violations, which is now that is now British politics. What do you mean some of the more serious? Because the entire colonial experience
was serious.
Requires an apology. Yes. If you tell the Maasai that well, we took your land, but well, that wasn't one of the more serious violations that we should be apologizing for. I mean, how will they feel? So and you know, that is a problem that has not been resolved to date. Yes. For example.
And unreserved apologies, what I'm hearing. Or, have I pronounced it right?
If they were to give an apology, then it has to be unreserved. Yes, but I don't think they will have the courage to do that. Yes.
But are we on a more substantive issue? Why have we to wait for 60 years? Those are issues we should have resolved a long time ago. So I think we also do blame as Kenyans for not pursuing that more vigorously.
Interesting. I'm curious, what do you make of it being, this is his first visit to a Commonwealth nation?
Is it?
Yes, since his coronation. What do you make of the choice of Kenya? I know the president had extended an invitation. Do you make anything of it, Professor Ketch?
Not that I'm aware of.
It just so happened.
I don't see anything yet.
I think I see something.
Yeah?
The British monarch has been very sentimental to this country. Because remember, Prince Elizabeth became the queen when she was in this country, when she was at treetops. And then there have been a lot of British interest in this country, particularly strategic in terms of military training, in terms of investment. And then finally, you have to remember that UK or Britain got out of Brexit, or out of European Union, the so-called Brexit. And it makes logic that one way to turn to for more trade is the Commonwealth. So Commonwealth has become more important. And anywhere where Britons have interest, strategic interest, whether trade or otherwise, they must now focus more on that. So I don't think it is random that they choose Kenya.
Sentimentality.
Yes.
There was, so the weekly review really went into this, but there's Batuk, the Batuk factor. And there was a gruesome killing of, let me just see if I can find that particular article. I don't know whether I saw it in yesterday's weekly review or
it's also in one of the papers.
The Standard. But you know, it will cast, according to the article, it was viewed that it would cast a pall on his visit. Because they're also, so Ngina Kirori, one of our reporters here, also did a special report on the ordinance that has cost people their limbs and lives, as well as now the, I'll have to remember her name, but basically atrocities committed by British forces in Kenya. It's a landmine. Post-independence. It's a landmine issue. I'm not sure whether he will even approach that issue. Professor Migai.
Like the case of the lady that was killed by a British soldier.
Yes.
So the violations continue. You know, the unfortunate thing is that you have these people coming here. I'm talking about the British soldiers. They are not accountable to Kenyan law. How is that acceptable?
So in your view, anyway, well, we may not get a lot of these hard questions answered. Professor Exen Iraki? Even the atrocities that followed independence.
I think one of the gentleman on my left is a lawyer, and I think justice is very clear in our national anthem, is our shield. So whatever injustice has been perpetrated against Kenyans, it doesn't matter by who. There should be some form of compensation. We should not just talk about justice, but we should see justice in action. So whether it was somebody who was killed in an ordnance explosion, whether it was somebody who was involved in a scuffle with a British soldier, whether it is colonialism, we need to come to terms with all that. Because we have to move on and share the burden of the past, but it must be done in a way that satisfies all the stakeholders.
All right, so I will find it. I will find it.